welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this, in turn, increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Jardo, Click OK, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
How are you?
All right, very well, Neil. How are you?
Hello.
Hello?
I'm okay, but supposedly Flat Earth is dead. I don't know.
So in the pre-show, we read out a note from Patricia Steer. Now, I mean, back in the day, Patricia Steer was heavily criticised for not doing any flat Earth experiments. Oh, the irony. She used to say the same sort of thing. I mean, I'm not doing any flat Earth experiments. I just interview people. Yeah, you do. But obviously, you're going to form an opinion on whether or not you believe the Earth is flat. And having departed from this flat Earth community, she's got something to say about it, which is all well and good. Obviously, she's entitled to her opinion. But we've moved on from the opinions of people formed from interviewing others about how they came to the conclusion that Earth was flat, when we've got measurements of a flat Earth that are being affirmed by our opponents in places like Antarctica, which got wrote about by Patricia Steer also. So just to summarise, when we're praising the boys who've come back with flat Earth measurements from Antarctica, it seems bizarre that people would leave a so-called community, not that I was part of that community, for it not being flat. It's measured flat by the boys in Antarctica. Didn't you hear? I mean, I'll do a little reconstruction. Where are the guns, Nathan? Where are the guns? Yeah, that's me pointing out that Earth's measured flat with the angles taken in Antarctica. The response was deflect to guns. Maybe you heard my name echoing around the Antarctic snow. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't think it would be important to check in with me, Patricia. Meanwhile, Earth is measured flat. An example would be the elevation, that's height off the surface. That's what elevation is. Elevation angle measurements to the sun for a 24-hour period in Antarctica. That would be 24 hours of measuring Earth flat. Got a surface level measurement. It forms part of the angle. Now, obviously, if you've recently departed the flat Earth, and this could be very embarrassing for you, that's embarrassing for Patricia Steer to hear what I'm saying now. That is to say, you, Patricia Steer, now have a couple of choices. Yeah. Obviously, I'm extending this courtesy as we're old friends. You can deny the measurements of elevation angles to the sun for 24 hours. The whole point of going down there, to measure Earth. You can deny those measurements of Earth, or you can affirm on your knees that Earth was measured flat for a 24-hour period with elevation angle measurements. That's two straight lines, one being the surface level, meeting at a vertex. That is what they measured. Earth was measured flat. I mean, obviously, if that's not satisfactory and you want someone else from the community to tell you, yeah, then allow Simon Dan to tell you about the 1,000+ flat Earth angle measurements he made to the sun, because he too measured Earth flat and affirmed how flat Earth will and has and will always be measured, because that's how Earth's measured. I mean, you'd have thought you'd have checked before making embarrassing declarations of leaving communities of flat earthers. No. I mean, we're talking about leaving them too. Like the people who believe Earth's flat, we're going to leave those behind. There's no point being engaged in discussions where you get ridiculed as a flat earther who believes Earth's flat, we don't need any of that. We're going to also walk away from those communities that you're talking about, knowing that Earth is measured flat. Yeah, as opposed to a akin to Scientology-like belief in heliocentrism passed down from the Roman Catholic Church several hundred years ago from the pulpit. Now, we know that that religion that Patricia Steere seems to have decided to go back to, whilst declaring that the government's not the hidden hand, how interesting and chilly. But nevertheless, she's walking back to a religion of a ball that's measured also with flat Earth surface level measurements. That's where we're at. Earth's measured flat for your heliocentric orbital motion and ball belief. That's correct. You'd have thought you'd have checked before making these public statements. Meanwhile, what's actually happening is we're being censored. The reason I'm so comfortable with lights and camera, which I'm not typically doing, right? Normally I'd be off camera, worried about how I look to the general public when there's 100+ people watching. Yeah, we're being censored to all frick. That's what's happening to us. But your statements about our flat Earth are dead have managed to make their way to me. Somebody completely indifferent to what you have to say about the matter, Patricia. Meanwhile, survey says flat. Oh, that was affirmed by Dan. Not that we need Dan to affirm what surveyors survey. They're measuring Earth flat. I mean, only for 50 kilometres because it's locally negligible curvature that you ain't measuring when you measure Earth flat. Not you. We. Us. Collectively, you measure Earth flat. That's how it's surveyed. Yeah? Sciman says it's flat. Survey says it's flat. Flight say it's flat. Sea level says it's flat. Surface level says it's flat. Earth curve maths says it's flat. It's required. It's part of the angles to the stars measured in this diagram, labelled as latitude. Do you think the termination of this angle measurement is in hell for you? Because that's where you'll end up. Believing you're in a ball measuring angles to these stars off the equatorial plane that's measured. You're not in hell measuring ball Earth angles from a core that's all hot. You're measuring a flat Earth for angles. That's what an angle is. It's two straight lines. One's the surface level. Like the angles that Dan and Dave measured. So, Patricia's embarrassing departure won't matter that I'm pointing out how embarrassing and stupid it is, because that'll make the mainstream, right? That'll get passed around. Look how flat Earth's dead, says Patricia Steere, a former flat earther. Just like Jaron, the former leader of flat Earth. All right, well, the new leader of flat Earth, that's me, says Earth's measured flat, and I don't need any community behind me to point these facts out. In fact, my opponents will do it for me, like Dan. Yeah, okay. Surveyors take it to be flat. But it doesn't mean it's flat. Yeah, it does. That's how it's measured. Or, yeah, we're measuring surface level elevation angles to the sun for a 24-hour period off a flat Earth. Doesn't mean it's flat. Yeah, it does. So you've measured it. So that's where we're at. But where are you at? Back on the ball. Oh, how quaint. Heliocentric orbital motion comes by measuring a flat Earth. Yeah? Now you know. That's the news. Patricia Steere's put out a public statement about flat Earth being dead. Maybe I agree with her. The community that was built up by a controlled opposition's dead. Earth's still being measured flat, though. It always was and always will be.
I actually thanked Will Duffy for getting rid of all the pretender clowns. Good job. We appreciate it. Now the people that understand what was accomplished, I mean, she's so stupid she fell for the false dichotomy that they put forth. And just like Jaron. So this is what you have. But maybe that was what they wore the whole time.
Remember Gautier?
Huh?
Gautier, the band. Gautier had a very, very famous song called Now You're Just Somebody That I Used to Know. And that is how people like Patricia Steere get treated. Okay? So your assertion is that the community is dead. Okay? Who asked you to point that out? Hadn't you left it? Well, no, it isn't dead. I'm very much alive. I've very much got a community. I've been paying my mortgage with it for the last 8 years. So you can say and suggest there's no community. All right, how am I keeping a roof over my head and the lights on? Struggle though it is, I am doing exactly that. This is the longest job I've ever had. I do consider YouTubing a job. And in terms of employment and paying the mortgage, this is the longest I've ever done anything for ever. What's anything specifically? Flat Earth YouTuber. A professional Flat Earth YouTuber says the community's not dead. Earth's measured flat. Yeah? Put that as my quote response to Patricia Steer's nonsense. But yes, obviously, if there's going to be a figurative moving around of all of the main players in Flat Earth, you're going to need a new king. We also would need a new queen. Eric Dubay can have that position.
That's not fair. She even mentions Eric Dubay and Mark Sargent that all of a sudden now, because of this, they're all out of work, and they just can't face the facts that Flat Earth is dead. But see, they looked at it as a topic when it's the reality. So how can it be dead? It cannot not be measured flat anymore. It's flat. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? So when I saw the foresight, when I had the foresight to see my stats going in a direction I didn't like, regardless of how hard I worked against that, I decided rather than be in a position 6, 8, 10 months from now, this is retrospectively speaking, like from the past. So past future tense for Paula if she's listening. Very confusing, right? I thought I need to do something about this so that I don't end up 9 months from now having to e-beg just to keep the lights on. Now, don't get me wrong. If this projector or this monitor or something fails, there's a good chance that, as I'm always on a knife edge anyway, I'll have to e-beg for it. But currently, everything's working, and I haven't got to e-beg. Now, Eric Dubay has recently, and understandably so, come out and gone, times are getting really tough. And I go, yeah, I could see this coming because I keep a close eye on my stats, but it doesn't mean that Eric keeps a close eye on his stats. Now, me being reactive to his plight actually became a Patreon of Dubay's, admittedly at the very lowest minimum level you can be a patron for Eric Dubay. But I'm like, yeah, okay, I totally get it. This could have caught me out if I wasn't an ex-salesman and kept a really close eye on my statistics, which is all this is in terms of keeping it fun and keeping it like a game when you're doing your job, which is what this is. This is me being a Flat Earth YouTuber, needing to keep the lights on and mitigating for a dip in, it's not sales, it's views, but it's the same thing. It's the same statistical analysis, and I saw it coming. So I'm not e-begging. I mean, admittedly, you've got a slightly different backdrop with a load of microphones behind me. But other than that, nothing's changed much for me. I saw this coming. But has my community changed or diminished? No. If anything, big shout out to you. It's my birthday today if you want to support me financially. Hint, hint, if you want a super chat. But I'm not in the frame of mind to need to e-beg, right? I am not in that place. I've made sure, admittedly, it wasn't just for the foresight of knowing my statistics well. Yeah, I knew that the book was taking longer than expected, and the book originally was a mitigation for me constantly moaning that I'm on a knife edge struggling to pay my mortgage. Mortgages, plural. Nevertheless, that mitigation, the book, that is, chewed up time, ended up meaning less videography, slight dip that got assessed and readdressed with extra videos that then still didn't mitigate for the dip. So I think, this is a statistical anomaly that I maybe need to do something else about, and then ended up buying in microphones with a chunk of cash that I was given. But it means that unlike Dubay, and I'm not knocking him for it, like I say, I've supported him, so I don't get knocked for saying these things. He's had to e-beg where I haven't. That's not me saying I'm better than him, far from it. I'm sure he's probably financially better off. In fact, I've got more justification to e-beg to keep above the poverty line. But I don't want to when I've got a book on the horizon, metaphorically speaking, and I have. Yeah? And that will do something. That will have an impact. That will explain my general demeanour towards the so-called dead community. Maybe I should lean into Patricia Steer's comment. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that flat earth community of believers is dead. And the people that you say we should thank maybe Duffy for, maybe you've got agreement from people like Neil, because he's agreeing, isn't he? saying, yeah, thanks, Duffy, you got rid of a whole load of pretender clown flat earth believers. What's left? Well, just a very solid community of people who know Earth is measured flat and can example it 6 ways from Sunday. Because that's how Earth's measured. We're in a community where our opponents are telling us that Earth's measured flat too and apologising for it. That's what we've got going on in this community that is very much alive. End of ramble.
Didn't Eli want to go over a video, or are you just going to chat today?
I'm in my chair. I'm more laid back than ever, right? So for my birthday today, I asked my wife if I could get some risers. So I've got these Ecorns. They're called stressless chairs, right? And they're large, like me. And the problem with them is they're too low. So my long legs, when I sit down into them, I'm, number one, dropping down too low and smashing my spine every time I sit down, which is no good. So what she got me was risers. Like, they just lift the thing up by 2 or 3 inches. It's not much, but it's enough to make them far more comfortable, these chairs. So I've just looked across at the delayed signal on my preview, and there's me sat all leant back, looking as laid back as I can. And I'm like, my God, you look like a right slob on camera. Maybe this isn't the right time to pick being on camera just because the numbers are down, because they're starting to go back up again, right? There was 100 watching a couple of days ago. I look like a slob. Just me squashed my fat belly right on camera. On the other hand, it does speak volumes, right? I'm not really distressed. I'm not worried about this alleged community that's so-called quote-unquote dying. You're like, no, my community's not doing that. I mean, I'm getting pushed to less of the general public. My videos, in terms of their exposure through algorithmic love, is at an all-time low. That doesn't change the people who are generally around me, giving me super chats and supporting me how they do. People are still doing that, and they always will. You know, there's a certain longevity to the people around me that I've learned over the last 10 years. You know, people stick around us, don't they, Neil? Shout out to... actually, I've asked you a question. Go ahead, Neil. You answer, and then I'll shout out these super chats.
Yes. Go ahead. Do your shout out.
Shout out to Roger Ledwell for hitting the super chat. Jardo also. Did you gift memberships, or I don't know what kind of super chat that was, but he said, happy 50th birthday, the cheeky sod. Obviously not 50. 1980 kind of gives the game away. But he knows that, and I know that, and I know he's just ribbing me. So thank you, Jardo, for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, Roger Ledwell, it's a magical day after all. Happy birthday. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate it. And also Mike808, who just says happy birthday. Really appreciate all the super chats. Thank you very much indeed for the support. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, it is mildly upsetting with Patricia Steer because she's a mate, right? I would have considered her a mate. We've met, we've pressed the flesh, we've spent long hours talking to each other via Skype, the now defunct Skype. And there you go, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. So I will take the time to point out where we're at to somebody individualistically, this case Patricia Steer, and say, yeah, we've measured Earth flat. That's the end of the discussion. There wasn't one. The whole point of the last 10 years was to create a community that you say is dead, to create the impression of a debate based on there being a believing side of flat Earth that just went on and on about how Earth isn't a sphere and we see too far and all that kind of crap that we call the feast of nonsense. Well, that was us edging towards the facts in the matter, which is Earth's measured flat by everybody. There's no getting away from it. And an attempt to try and subvert me saying these facts will lead you, like Dan, to measuring Earth flat 1,000 times. I mean, that is the inevitable.
Well, I only take offense to one thing, where she says we tear each other to pieces. We do not do that. Sorry to say.
Shut up, Neil.
If somebody comes in here with nonsense, yeah, they're going to get handed their ass. No doubt about it. We don't tear each other apart.
A few more shout-outs. Never a straight answer. Happy birthday. And then cake, balloon, and snory face emoji. I don't know what the snory face is for, but I will be probably getting a snooze later. Thank you very much for the super chat. Never a straight answer. And Pablo, happy birthday. Thanks for the high value content. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed.
Happy birthday, Nathan.
Well, thank you very much.
Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have a belting day, and I just hope you have a great day, mate.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not on Saturday. And it's a shame I'm not 12 or something, because if I was, I'd get away with calling this like a sick day at school or whatever. Although it's holiday time for the kids, right? No one's at school anyway. Yes, Nathan, that's correct. Everyone's on 6 weeks holidays. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I homeschool my two, so obviously holidays are a bit alien to us. If you say so. Yeah, definitely 6 weeks holiday. Ah, okay, fair enough. I didn't really realise. But thank you for telling me, one deck. It's nice to have a holiday-based birthday. It's a shame it's midweek. Obviously, I've got to do the show. I haven't got to do the show, but I like doing the show.
Could be worse, mate. You could be running around like a lunatic, fixing fridges that are breaking down everywhere in 35-degree heat when they're only designed to work in 30 degrees. That's what I'm currently doing.
Shout out to Dan, although he hasn't hit me up on the super chat, he's hit me up via PayPal. Thank you very much indeed for the PayPal. $50. Wow, thank you so much. Says happy birthday, Nathan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy birthday. I said happy birthday to you yesterday, so happy birthday again.
Hey,
Happy
thanks.
birthday.
Sorry, Neil.
Thank you, Dank. I heard you. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. Like the sting that I used to describe from wanting to better educate the now out of the woodwork shills like Jaren and Patricia in terms of getting their rhetoric to a higher standard. My frustration and my lack of sleep as a result was because the person that we're talking about was formerly on our side, and you want that person to have a good argument, know how to defeat the opponent's argument, etc. The sort of standards, albeit at a much, much higher level when I'm talking about it in reference to yesterday's show, the kind of standards that Brian wants from me, right? His expectations, yeah? Right, I'd call Brian a mate. So when Brian is... I'm criticising Brian going, you're making me out to be stupid, like I don't get this because I haven't got the time to research it and you have, therefore you're better. That kind of tit for tat mates ribbing each other about how good Brian is compared to me, yeah, with a nudge between the ribs from Brian in terms of him having a better knowledge base in terms of gyroscopic motion, which he does. I'm not going to deny it. But that's the sort of high standard that we at Flat Earth Debate expect of each other. Now, while I don't expect that standard, that exceptionally high standard from someone like Patricia or Jaren, I would expect them to understand some of the arguments to the point where they can undermine next man or next woman when they come and debate this stuff. I mean, obviously, next woman might be next man in the case of Brenda or whoever, but you know what I'm talking about. Jaren has showed useful knowledge of things like the Black Swan to overcome Brenda, which is why she's being used in that example. And you go, okay, so you do understand these arguments, but when I've tried to explain them to him and been undermined and cast down, chastised even, for attempting to put these arguments coherently to people who are bracing against them throughout the last however many years, was always very distressing and frustrating, and I used to lose sleep over it. It's like, why would this person on my side not want to know this argument? Now we know, they were all primed to come out and say, it's not a government hidden hand and Flat Earth community's dead, says Patricia and Jaren. And you go, right. Well, that's good. That's a right relief. Now I don't have to worry about you, do I? Yeah? Previously, I was all concerned about Jaren and Patricia and people like them. Yeah? I mean, Dave, Big Ball Dave, still frustrates me because he's alleged to be on our side, isn't he, with all of his shilly shite that gets debunked by our opponents. But that's in the past now, isn't it? Who cares what Dave's doing? We've evolved beyond this crap. We know Earth was always being measured flat, and 90% of Dave's arguments will whistle straight past the flat Earth he needs his opponents to appeal to when he argues for how we see too far, based on flat Earth measurements of surface level for your height above it in Earth curve maths. Meanwhile, we'll leave people like Dave. I'll forego the stress and frustration that I used to feel for Jaren and Patricia and people just like them, wanting them to do better. But now they're not even in our community, right? Our community being people like Neil and One Deck and Simon Dan and Dave McKeegan. Our community, we all know Earth's being measured flat because we are all measuring Earth flat. You've departed from the community, Jaren and Patricia. Good for you. Yeah? We, Dan and Dave McKeegan, will continue to measure Earth flat, though. Okay? It's good by you. Another couple of shout-outs. Shout-out to Duncan McLeod. Happy birthday, Nathan. Thank you very much indeed, Duncan. Also, Pin Puncher. Happy birthday to an absolute legend. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it, Pin Puncher. So yeah, I don't have to worry about Patricia Steer anymore. That's good. Don't have to worry about Jaren anymore. Good. I never really worried about any of the people on our opponent's side anyway. I never gave them a second thought after the show's ended. But there's less and less people in this so-called community to worry about. And the people I worried about are all the people, what a coincidence! All the people I used to stress about are the exact same people coming out and saying it's actually a ball after all. Oh, just a weird coincidence, I guess, that all the people that gave me all the grief all over the years that were on the flat earth side are the exact same people. Just a coincidence, I guess. Give it another couple of years and Big Ball Dave will show his true colours, perhaps. Who knows? But who else is there? Who else gives us stress? That was one of the reasons I became a patron of Eric DeBay's. I'm like, when has he actually given me any grief? Never. Right? I've given him more grief. Back in the day, 10 years ago, I was calling him a shill and re-uploading various videos that were people suggesting that he behaved shilly and certain allusions to the idea that he was in that way. I parroted. So, like, on balance, I was more of a shit to Eric DeBay than he was to me, or has ever been. There you go, people, what's that Christian phrase about that know them by their fruit, right? Well, DeBay's done that over the last 10 years. Now, do I agree with him? No. There's plenty of things DeBay does that I absolutely despise. But he's just a dude out there doing what he does without behaving like an abject shill, causing me headaches and to lose sleep. I don't think I've ever lost any sleep over DeBay. I've often commented and politely praised him, sometimes given him super thanks in his comments, because I'm like, good video. You know, like, this is the complete antithesis of what I had to deal with people like Jaron. I had to stress and fight tooth and nail just to get him to acknowledge a decent argument. I never had to do that with DeBay. You know what I mean? I just don't want people to turn around and go, well, DeBay thinks this about Christians. Yeah, I know. I'm well aware.
Hey, I got something Paula just sent me. She said, I'll read it verbatim. I had no delusions of educating a closed mind like Faulkner's. My only goal was to expose him.
Her only what? I missed the last part. I was distracted by two eBay notifications.
Our only goal was to expose him.
Sure. But she maybe didn't hear my sentiment in this regard, right? You don't throw pearls to swine. And if he's your subject matter, he's obviously a worthy subject matter.
Gotta stop you there.
Well, okay.
I said that to her. I'll read mine. I said, Nathan seems to think... hold on. Oh, Nathan seems to think you spend time trying to educate Faulkner, so that shows that he is not swine. And that's what she gave the answer she gave.
Why'd you paraphrase what I actually said?
I had to do it that way. What do you mean?
You
I gotta get it in my favor.
Well, she's heard my sentiment now. I said Paula wouldn't throw pearls to swine.
Right, but from the beginning, she's saying she knew all about it. She's just trying to expose him because he goes around. Listen, he didn't say verbatim what he said, but she did say that she has heard him say in the past that he whines about FE behavior in general. Okay?
Yeah, but is it unjustified, right? There's plenty of people that moan about me and my behaviour, right? Now, I'm not going to say Paula specifically, but Paula would be one of the people that would be offering constructive criticism, let's just say, in terms of my demeanour, my behaviour, my language. Now, that's done out of love, and I completely understand why certain people like Paula, who don't have such a strong affinity towards me for whatever reason, would want to walk away based on my behaviour and my demeanour. So there's going to be things that Danny Faulkner, with righteous indignation, can criticise me for. Now, if you level those things and I go, fair enough, when he's criticising me, as my opponent, it is fair enough. Like, I get the same criticism from my own side, people who do like me, nay, love me, in the truest sense of the word. Now, when it's from the opponent, that doesn't necessarily make it wrong automatically. Now, you read between the lines and suggested things that generally get laid at our doorstep, Neil, and suggested that Danny Faulkner had said those things. And I'm like, give me an example. Thus far, you have not, and you could not. Now, it doesn't mean he hasn't been critical of us, but it doesn't mean that what he's criticised isn't just. Know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a swine.
He's not. He speaks the word of Jesus.
He does not speak the word of Jesus.
Yes, he
Nathan.
does.
I
He's
don't know
got
where
a
you're getting that
congregation.
from.
I'm not going to hear this. Right. If you do this, right, I've got an uncle who has a similar attitude towards this stuff, right? I interviewed him day one of finding out Earth was flat. And he is comparable, right? He was a pastor. He was retired, or about
Is
to
he
retire.
going around writing books, Nathan? Is he going around writing books calling falling flat?
Maybe he wouldn't if he would have been 20 years younger.
You.
Maybe. But my point is, I'm from a long family of very religious people, pastors and what do they call them when they go out? I'm going to say prophets. That's not the right word. Evangelists
They
that go out
call
on
it
the road.
evangelizing and missionaries.
Yeah, missionaries. That's right. Yeah, my grandmother was a missionary. Well, the point being that obviously when you've come from that background and you've discussed this topic with them and you've got the same pushback that you see from someone like Danny, I can empathise. So for you to call him swine is, I hear it like you calling my uncle swine. Now, I'm not saying I relate to Danny like he's my bleeding uncle. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there is a certain standard that I can't hear or bear you two put on another man unjustly when he is a man of the cloth, a man of God. He's talking about Jesus.
Not.
He's got a congregation. Man, he should.
He doesn't have a congregation.
He deserves.
What's wrong with you?
You're calling him swine.
Listen, Nathan. He's perverting the word of God deliberately. Okay, that's number one. Number two, he works and he does work for, what is it called? Answers in Genesis.
So?
Okay, do you know what they promote in Answers in Genesis? Go to the Ark Encounter
I know who
and
Answers
see.
in Genesis
It's
are. First and foremost.
hypocrisy.
Right, let's just
Your
deal with a few
uncle,
things.
your
Yeah, you're asking me
grandmother,
questions
my
and you're carrying
family
on
members
talking.
don't go around writing books calling for.
I heard you the first time. Yes, I know what Answers in Genesis is and what they represent. I said this at the beginning of the show before we went live. Everybody thinks they're the good guy, Neil. They think they're on the course of justice and righteousness and the American way and all that stuff, right? That's what they think. They don't think they're the bad guy. They think they're doing the right thing.
I just joined to say that Danny Faulkner is swine.
Say again. Have you got a new mic yet? Did your mics come?
Yes, they did. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Hurry up and sort it out. Get your mic in function. I can't hardly understand you. Say again.
I said, I just joined to say that Danny Faulkner is swine.
Still didn't get it. What did he say? Is what?
He called to say that Danny Faulkner is swine.
Oh, it's swine. I didn't catch the last letters. I don't agree. No, he's not. I just don't agree.
Well, he doesn't read directly from the Bible.
Yeah, I've heard Neil lever that on Zoom today. Yes, I get that.
I think you need to take up that topic with Quantum Eraser.
That's right. I think the guy isn't. I don't think he's an evil guy. I don't think he's swine. I don't think it's not worth our time. And I think there's a reason everybody has spent as much time as they have on Danny. Not me. So, you know, if anybody's got a justification to call him swine and say, I've given him no consideration because he's swine, that would be me. Because I haven't really. I mean, he's come in and he had a discussion with Refracted at one point, and I believe yourself. Oh, no, it was Adam. Regardless. It was Adam. But regardless, you know, I mean, beyond that, I'm pretty indifferent to the guy. But the people who get compassionate about him and want to discuss him and want to deal with what he puts out there, I don't know if I'd go as far as to call him swine when you're giving him the amount of attention that you're giving him. I don't think he's swine. I don't agree.
What I would call him is a fraud and a liar. That's what I would wipe up. I'd say he's a fraud and a liar, which he is, provably, and demonstrated. He has demonstrated this. He has spoken about passages in the Bible and people and audience incorrectly. He has shown dishonesty by blocking all the calculations at the bottom of the black swan photograph, and he has openly lied. So what else? Why would I consider this man a man of God? I can't. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming any man is. But there's a certain standard, and once you go below that, you are not a man of God. You cannot safely seen as a man of God. Not in my eyes, anyway.
I don't know if I agree. You are basically perfect, aren't you, Brian?
I'm far from it. But there's certain things I don't do, and I try to improve. Andy is not interested in improving. He's interested in deceiving. That's the problem. Kind of like I could call Will Duffy a man. I couldn't do that either.
Yeah, Will Duffy's an outright liar. So there are plenty of things or plenty of examples that I can give of Will Duffy lying. And he goes out of his way to justify his lies. Like, it's okay to lie. Plenty of people have exampled that as well. And, you know, that if you call him swine, then fine. But I don't know if being wrong and suggesting that because we've put the information to him or he's had it plenty of times, therefore that demonstrates malice in forethought when he presents his information that is deemed incorrect. It is. I'm not saying it isn't, but I don't know. It's a bit too much of a stretch for me to say that he's lying. I don't know if that's true.
Well, he's been demonstrated to have been lying. He's openly lied, shown to be dishonest. Now, dishonesty and lies are not the same thing. They're in the same ballpark, but I can lie or I can be dishonest. Without lying, I can just withhold information. Now, Danny Faulkner has demonstrated both. As he showed that photograph of the Black Swan photograph to his to an audience, and he left out all the important bits at the bottom. Why did he do that? He was withholding the truth. He was being dishonest. Then he is also openly lied. I can even just use what he says about the Bible. The passage where it talks about God stopping the sun from moving, he states that it's God stating that it's stopping the earth from turning. That's not what it says in the Bible. That is an absolute lie. That's only one of many lies he's told. So you need to talk to QE, because I think if QE is listening to this, he's choking on his breakfast. And not that I want to be, but I'm just saying this would drive him up the wall. QE has demonstrated him as being a liar. Well, QE didn't demonstrate it. He demonstrated it himself. QE just relayed it to the audience.
No, fair enough. When it comes to the alteration of the Bible verses, it's a push for me to say that he doesn't know that he's altering what is written down in black and white. So, I mean, certain things I can't really disagree with.
Paula has even detailed his book, Falling Flat, and gone through it. And I didn't hear all of Paula's critique on it, but I listened to the first chapter or two, and that was enough. Like, Paula shows where he is being dishonest, and he's knowingly being dishonest. Like, as I said, you don't have to lie to be dishonest. You just have to conceal to be dishonest, right? You don't have to lie, right? But lying is you are being dishonest when you're lying. Same thing, right? In that way. But he's demonstrated both. I don't know what is to say. You know, I can't call him a man of God.
Yeah, you can't not call him a man of God because he's being deceitful. Everybody lies. Now, that doesn't change his status in terms of what he does. And I don't know, this is a tough one. I'm not trying to rub anybody up the wrong way.
For me, For me, it's not as triggering as some others, because I'm obviously not a Christian, and I don't have any. You know what I mean? I don't have like the relatives like you have, maybe, and stuff like that. So for me, it's not as maybe as the deep topic. Well, it is, and it is. I'm going to say it is. It doesn't. Not saying that I'm okay with it. I'm just saying this. For someone like me, he would instantly make him angry. But I found myself that what Danny Faulkner has done and the way he would speak about the Bible and this character was actually being said, stuff like that. Like that makes me angry too. It's not even a Christian. It makes me angry because someone is lying about something That is, oh, like, you know, like, it just makes me angry if someone is lying. It makes me angry. You know, like, any lies at all. And considering how poor the Bible is to so many people, you know, I just find it like egregious that he'd be willing to lie about what's actually written in that book. Because I'm not a Christian, and I certainly would never lie about what's written in the Bible.
You're kind of fading out at the end there, Brian. Can you just say the last thing again?
Sorry, I'm just saying that I'm not a Christian, but I would never lie about what's written in the Bible. And he's talking from claims to be a Christian, yet he's willing to outright lie to an audience that he has. About what.
I think I got the general gist of it. Ah, fair enough. I don't know why I want to be apologetic for Danny Faulkner. The last thing I want to do is annoy everybody.
Remember, you were trying to apologise. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, sorry, I thought you were finished when you said after you said I don't know why I want to apologise to Danny Faulkner. Remember when you were trying to apologise for others in the past? Won't name names. That's actually why
Yeah,
you
feel
do
free.
this.
Name names.
Do these people deserve the counsel?
Look, I'd rather you did say names. I'm not embarrassed at being wrong, right? I get it. For many, let's just go on camera. Right, for years, people in this arena have told me I was wrong, and to keep the phraseology the same, throwing pearls to swine with people like Jaron. And not only was I cautioned that if I continued to do it, people would eventually tar me with the same brush. So while people like Patricia are saying, oh, the people who've left the flat earth community are being called chills and scum. Yeah, well, I was warned that by trying to communicate with those people that I describe as losing sleep over because they were frustrating me, well, those people could have tarnished my good name upon their departure, which was seen as inevitable by the people around me. I didn't see it. I was too short-sighted. I was quite literally throwing pearls to swine while I was dealing with people like Jaron. I'm not embarrassed to admit that. I mean, it is embarrassing now, after the fact, but that's just the way it is. You can only reflect on it and go, well, at least I don't have to stress about them anymore or lose sleep over them. I should have just listened to the people around me and trusted the people saying, don't throw your pearls to these swine. Eventually, people will think you're the swine too.
Well, yeah, me not bringing up the names wasn't me trying to somehow shield you from embarrassment. I'm not saying I was trying to embarrass you either. I was just pointing out to you that have a think back at those times and ask yourself why so many people push back against you when it comes to Danny Faulkner. It's maybe have a think about it before you defend who you defend. Are they worth defending? Have they proven themselves to be worth defending? If you understand what I mean. Like, how do you defend someone who's out who has been shown to be guilty by other people? So, and by themselves, well, they themselves have shown themselves to be guilty. You may not be aware of it, but it's worth checking out before you decide to publicly defend them, because you will end up being tarred with that brush, unfortunately, and you don't deserve it.
Is it just me, or is this like deja vu, Neil? You could have been saying the same thing 12 months ago about Jaron, quite literally, correct? Literally the same words.
I said the same thing about Jaron and Bob and them many years ago. I was the first person to say it.
I mean, you said it at least 2 weeks before everybody else, I would have said.
Well, I don't know who else said it, but I know no one said it before I said it here, because I remember saying it to you on the show, on one of the live shows a couple of years ago, and I remember you taking a pause.
What did you say? What did you say? Tell me out.
I said that if Nathan continued defending people like Jaron and Bob and them, what would happen is that he'd end up being tarred with the same brush as them when they are shown to be what they really truly are, which they were.
Brian, I remember, correct. Yes, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. I mean, that level of perception is beyond my skill. You know, certain people have that, I don't know what you call it, some people call it gut instinct, whatever you want to call it. I didn't have it. I wasted a lot of time and energy on these shills. And now that's why I can so easily say it, because it seems so bleeding obvious. All the people that frustrated me and took up my time and energy were the people now coming out going, oh, well, it's a ball after all. Oh,
Well,
there's the methyl equidistant map's been debunked. Well, it's all over. No.
Let me tell you why, Nathan. Let
Good.
me tell you why Brian was able to see that. And I was able to see that. When other people care about someone, they can see things happening before the people doing them see it happening. Right? You weren't seeing it happening because you were focused on one thing. Let me get these guys on the same page so they don't look stupid. But you weren't seeing the damage it was going to do to you. We did because we care.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm not trying to attack you here, and especially on your birthday, and that wasn't the intention here at all. I'm just saying that what I would go along with what Neil was saying. It's just that the saying. Sometimes your intent, you see, was to get them on the right track, but you were looking past who they were while you were trying to do that. Sometimes there's no getting someone on the right track because their intent is to only be on the wrong track, and that's what their purpose
And
is.
right, and not seeing the damage it could do to yourself. That's the key thing.
Yeah, I understood your good intentions with them and all that. That was a good thing, which you were trying to do under a different circumstance.
What, under a circumstance where they weren't primed to come out and say, actually, Earth's a ball after all?
Yeah, because that's the only thing, you see. But see, then again, look, you have to understand, they were very influential as far as the numbers go and the media and all that. They were influential. So I understood why you were trying to do what you were trying to do. And you didn't want to be hearing conspiracy. And I get that because conspiracy becomes a pain in the neck because often it's not correct or not even researched correctly or, these kind of things. But like sometimes you must listen to it because there's something there.
Listen to what, specifically?
Listen to other people's conspiracy.
Oh, you mean listen to you, specifically?
Well, it doesn't have to be me. I'm not saying me specifically, but if someone has a good track record on that type of thing, maybe they're worth listening to. Doesn't have to be me. There's Neil, there's Adam, there's others. But like when it comes to Danny Faulkner, he's not worth defending because he will let you down. He will be shown to be guilty. I guarantee you at all times. He'll always be shown to be guilty. Kiwi was shown to be guilty last night. Yeah. I don't know if you watched last night's Kiwi.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was there for a couple of minutes at a time to say hello in the chat and give him permission to start and stuff, but no.
No, you'd enjoy it. You would enjoy it actually last night's show. No, but even last night, like Kiwi, I know he was condemning Danny Faulkner. Not that I've ever spoken really to the guy. I don't know if we even ever shared 2 words, but I know who I'm dealing with when I'm dealing with him. He's a very smooth talking, very polite back pisser.
I was about to say back
pisser. He is. They're the best at it, aren't they? They're like a politician, you know what I mean? Very charming, very polite, very mannerly, you know what I mean? Cordial, jovial, and a complete liar. You know what I mean? They're the best ones, aren't they? The best lawyers are always those ones.
Right. Shout out to Vitaly Z for the super chat. He says, "Happy birthday, Nathan." Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
Would you agree,
yes.
Nathan, that... Sorry, did you just say yes when I said, would you agree? You just say...
I was agreeing with you because I'd started out the super chat and failed to actually acknowledge what you'd said. So, yes, I agree. So they're always going to be the ones that... To be a good pack pisser, you've got to be able to gain empathy from your opponent. And maybe this is there's a little chink in my armour where, oh, no, he's a good guy, isn't he? No.
Well, if you met him in real life, you immediately would see through him because you're not seeing him as the persona. You are seeing him in real life. You'd be seeing him in real life for what he truly is. So you're not like you. He wouldn't get one over you in that situation. But in this situation, because you're trying to see the best in him, and sometimes there's only bad to see with somebody, or the only thing worth seeing is the bad stuff sometimes. Put it this way: think about the ballers and the flat earthers. Who have better manners throughout the whole, let's just say, 10 years? Who, let's say, by what's said in not what they're not saying, but the audio that comes out. In general, the ballers have much better manners. Now, I'm not talking about at the start of 2015 and 16 when they were telling you to drink bleach and all the rest of it. I'm talking about after that. Their manners in general were better, right? But they were also much bigger liars. Do you know what I mean? Because I credit trained politicians. Like, you know what I mean? Like conspiracy cats. Really cordial fella, but he'll totally lie. Do you know what I mean? It's like, the ballers in general are much more polite. But that's only so they can get away with lying to you.
So my sentiment from the pre-show was that there's a good reason why people have spent so much time focusing on people like Danny, and that's because he's like metaphorically worth saving. Like in there somewhere there's a good man. Fundamentally, you've just shot all that down at the end of this live show. So well done, Brian. That's great contradictory information I'm putting out in this show. Yeah, wonderful.
I think the guy, personally, is probably a Freemason or something. But that's total conspiracy. I don't know. But it doesn't matter whether he is or isn't. What matters is that what he says and what he does and what he is. And he has shown himself to be totally dishonest. QE's got bad manners. Right. Well, according to internet standards, right? Not in reality. In reality, he's very good manners. But people would see him as rough and shouty and he uses a lot of swear words. But he's not a lawyer. Do you know what I mean? So I'm quite happy with those who don't lie to me. They can say all the swear words they want in the world. They can shout and scream. I don't care what they do. Right? He doesn't lie. He tells the truth. He doesn't BS people. That's all. That's one of the main things about him that's so important.
He does say the
Danny
F word quite a lot.
Yeah, he does all kinds of stuff. Yeah, he swears like a sailor. But Danny Faulkner doesn't. He sits there and he's very calm and cordial and he's direct.
And lies to your face.
Exactly.
Hey, Brian,
but hold on. He does smile while he's pissing down your back, doesn't he? He does smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, can you briefly break down what they were talking about? Because I missed the whole beginning of yesterday's show. What was he actually presenting to these numpties in freaking Misfit Toys?
Earth Awakenings, Geo and all them. What that was about is, this celestial theodolite thing, Nathan. You made a video about it, and I made a video around the same time as the guy was making the video. But the guy is not. Everyone's focusing on what kind of refraction is there and all this other nonsense.
Sorry,
right?
What video?
How much terrestrial?
He said I made a video.
That video where that video that Dr. Somebody made. Some flat earther who he took a measurement to the top of the mountain, and there was a star that was in a line with the mountain via the
Is that what
angle.
ended up being used when Dan responded to me? So the video I'm addressing is that video where they're measuring a mountain at 50k. Is that what you're talking about?
No, yeah, well, no, the mountain that's being measured is like 50 something miles now, not the 50k. That's Dan. The 50k is a different. Dan just said 50k. But it's about 50 or 60 miles away, this mountain. Anyway, the point is that they were covering that Earth Awakening. Danny Faulkner was in talking to everyone in Earth Awakening server, Geo server. And everyone was going around in circles talking about how much terrestrial non-refraction there is. And all this other complete and utter horse manure. Instead of focus, and a couple of times, there was a couple of the flat earthers started kind of talking about the measurements and parallel verticals and stuff, but they were too busy trying to enable the likes of Faulkner, and they didn't have confidence in what they were saying. And so it basically, he nailed it. He said these people don't actually know what's flat. It's that simple. And he was right. I totally agree now that they don't. They only suspect it. And instead of focusing on the measurements that the guy took, with the theodolite of the mountain. And that right, and how they're what the earth needs to be for that measurement to happen, right, which is flat, right. Instead of focusing on what's important, they were all arguing about or talking about how much terrestrial non-refraction there is, and how much celestial non-refraction there is. All this sort of stuff that is a complete red herring away from the most important. And they were calling that what they were talking about, the number one flat Earth proof at the moment. It's just like, it is such a nothing. The part that's proving anything there is the measurement, the geometric measurement of the mountain, and how that must be measured. Nothing else is of any use there. The rest is nonsense about some refraction that doesn't exist. And that was what the whole show was about. Now, there's more to go because QE didn't go through the whole lot of it, I don't think. But it was basically on that for the whole show. So it's more listening to QE starts getting this. I know I'm laughing along, but QE starts getting angry at one point because it's like,
Were you
these
there,
people,
Neil?
they just,
Were you on the
Sorry?
show yesterday, Neil?
I-
I'm just asking Neil if he was there.
Yeah, I caught the end of it. I came in around almost 2 hours in. But yeah, I the only thing I noticed was he is speaking a lot, and we couldn't freaking get 5 words out of him without 30, 40, 50-second intervals. And then when Adam had him, he had to go to lunch. But he's so comfortable sitting in Earth Awakenings, just laying out his rhetoric, and they're allowing him to do it, and not one of them brought him to the measurements. So that's why he's able to sit there so nice and comfortable, not being challenged at all.
yeah, he can sit in the Earth Awakenings for several hours, but he can't spend 20 minutes talking here. Do you know what I mean?
Brian, what I wanted to ask you was if he would have brought that stuff on FED or even QE Live, what would the results have been?
Well, I'd say he wouldn't have even gotten to talking about his terrestrial non-refraction. It would have been straight onto the measurements, how it has to be measured, what has to be. There has to be parallel verticals, because verticals can't be anything but parallel to each other, and horizontal distance between them. That means, and that has to be parallel to the mean sea level, which is also horizontal. Like, there'll just be no way out of it.
Right.
You know,
Like
it's a
I
right
think
angle
you even
triangle.
said,
Yeah.
sorry, but I think you even said it one time in the show, Nathan would be losing his mind right now.
Yeah, I said, if Nate's listening to this, he's screaming at the computer. That's what I said at one point, Nathan. Because you are like so focused on the one thing, and that's the measurements. And this is one of those times when that is exactly what should be focused upon, and the only thing they should be focused upon. And they're focusing upon every other bit of nonsense but the measurement. You kind of have to ask, are these people that in it, or are they literally trying to go against it? You know.
Well, you asked the question, do they even know? I mean, I haven't watched it, so I mean, I will go back and watch QE's show. But do they know? Do they, while they're talking about it, that's why I asked Neil, are they talking about sea level and things of that nature and just whistling straight past it, the flat earther studies? Because when I tuned in, it had Saint Pierre guy and QE losing his, his rag with him because he seemingly didn't know the arguments that we're currently putting forward. So my question to Neil is that the case, that they're whistling past the flat earth prerequisites and such like? Neil?
I'm sorry.
I've already got my answer, actually, Neil, because Brian surprisingly is offering me compliments in terms of how I do things and saying, actually, in this instance, that would have been perfectly appropriate, which is very different to the last couple of days. Maybe it's just because it's my birthday. But Brian's been quite complimentary. But that affirms it, right? They're just whistling straight past this stuff. They want to use the flat earth measurements. But my question is more nuanced. Do the flat earthers know that? The flat earthers that were in this video that you were critiquing? Because
I don't think so. No, I don't think it's either that or they don't want to do it because it's a quick end to the argument. It's either they know it, that they're stepping back from it, or they don't know, because some of the diagrams, you saw the freaking triangle right there. They said sea level. I mean, come on, what's going on here? Am I in Gaga land or something?
No, that's what I'm asking for. That's what you've answered my question, Neil. Thank you.
And Nathan, no, it's not that I was trying to tell you the other day that you're wrong about everything. That's not or anything like that. That's not my point. Is there's a time for, like, if you want to talk about it in that way, there is a time to focus on that, and there's a lot of times, but sometimes you need a little bit more detail as well, or to know a bit more detail for if it comes up. You don't have to go on about it, but if it comes up, it's nice to have that detail there to shut down some BS attack on you. Do you know what I mean? So you're not blindsided by it. It's good to have that, right? That doesn't mean you have to talk about it all the time, but it's good to have that there, like to know these things, and so that way they can't be used against you, basically. But last night would have been like if there's anyone I would want to have right there in the middle of that conversation to end all that rubbish would have been you. I would have dropped you straight in the middle of it, like a hand grenade, because you're just going to focus purely on what needs to be focused on. Now, so would I, and so would QE and everyone, but because you are, and of course, perfected in that, any of us would have been a hand grenade in there. But because you focus so much on it and you're so focused on it, that you would have been like, if you listen to that, you'll know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. There's been instances recently when, a guy came on and was grilling me about the pitch data, and I didn't know what the axis was on the bottom. And because it wasn't in front of me, I had to kind of wing it. And you're like, well, you're saying if you had had the nuanced information in your head, regardless of having the pitch data in front of you, you wouldn't have needed to know that it's time on the bottom axis. But you didn't, and it wasn't in front of you, but you're there arguing about it. So I understand your position, so hence I'm thinking about how I can relate it back to you, rather than not giving you an example back and then having you give me the same example over and over again with me going, I get it, Brian, you don't need to give it me 10 times. But in this case, I'm saying, right, okay, well, here's an example of when that's happened, and it would have been useful for me to have a more expansive knowledge of the particular debate that's going on literally as we speak, rather than going, I don't need this debate, we've already passed this, we know Earth's flat. You're saying, well, that doesn't stop the opponents coming in with arguments that might just catch you out once in a while. So you still got to keep yourself frosty. And it's only through love. It's because Brian loves me so dearly that he's concerned so deeply about me making myself look as good as possible. Isn't that right, Brian?
That's right, Nathan.
We all love you, Nathan. Especially on your birthday.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, you don't want the situation to happen where you're blindsided by somebody coming at you with something like that Mercury switches thing. That was something that they were trying to make into something that wasn't. And if you have the information about it.
Well, that's a better example.
Right?
That caught me out because I hadn't got a clue what was being talked about. Now, I'd heard you vaguely describe it in response once when you talked about it, because the word erection caught my ear. And in terms of erecting the gyro, which is what it's doing mechanically on the ground, I'd got a vague idea of it. But for it to be that vague meant that I didn't catch Dave McKeegan talking about it. But the principle that he's discussing registered in my mind immediately as the principle that's used for pendulous vanes, much to your irritation, right? When I listen back to that show, I'm like, and now I understand why Brian's annoyed with me. Because I'm not getting that he's not talking about frickin' pendulous vanes, right? They've done the old switcheroo and talked about something that's similar but not the same to catch us out. And you're like, that's not what he's talking about. Now, obviously, everything that he is talking about still needs a flat Earth, just as it would be. But I haven't caught that nuance, which is annoying to you, right, Brian?
Well, it wasn't if it's in the moment, because we can all be caught in the moment where we just don't know. The only thing was with me was when you were saying it doesn't matter, I don't care about it, I don't need to learn it, and that was when I was focusing on you. I was like, no, you should learn this because it's a good thing to know for when someone comes at you with that. Because if they think they blindsided you with something once, and they can hear that you're not interested in learning about it, they're going to come back at you again with that thing publicly. Especially as much as possible, especially if they can get you with a big audience who doesn't know anything about the subject in front, if you're promoting the book or something. That's when they're going to do this. So it's good to have that knowledge. Like at that particular time, you didn't know. So, I mean, you can't know what you can't know. But you don't know, you can't know what you don't know, and that's it. But when you start saying, I don't care, I don't want to know, it's like that was when I was focusing on. It's like, no, you should care about this. So that can't happen to you. You know, because we can all get blindsided, and that's all right, very well. But after that, you learn to make sure that doesn't happen to you with that same thing again. You know, that's was my point, really. You know, and the thing about it, they were mixing, they were chopping and changing between the mercury switches and pendulous vanes. They were throwing in different terms. It's like they were trying to talk as if they were the same thing, but they're not, because they are doing the same function but in two different gyro systems. You know what I mean? So they are doing the same function but in two different gyro systems. And this one, because this system with the electrically spun gyro, because of this system having a more of a relayed response or delayed response, because the pendulous phase is just corrected immediately, whereas this system will correct it when there seems to be when there seems to be an issue that just hasn't been corrected after a couple of minutes. And you know, they're then saying, well, in the pitch data that, like, I mean, that's ignored. But the pendulous phase is corrected immediately because of the way it works. So, you know, that means, like, they weren't even being clear about that point. You know what I mean? Oh, and of course, as you said, know yourself. What's it correcting? Both of these are correcting back to horizontal. Why are they correcting it back to horizontal? Because the earth is flat. Simple as. But they're basically trying to come at you with an argument. And okay, at the time you didn't know, and that'd be fine. We don't all know everything. But it was only when you didn't want to know, that was the thing that bothered me. It's like, no, you should want to know this. That's why that happened.
Yeah, fair enough. No, and I totally appreciate that. Now it's my being indifferent to it. It's like, well, if you're indifferent to it, and then you get into discussion, you're out and you're probably in the book, for example, and then somebody asks you about aviation, you start talking about Earth being measured flat and how that gets achieved, and then suddenly the special guest that we hypothetically describe being there out of the blue starts talking about this subject, and I respond with a response like I gave to Dave McKeegan, not catching it. And they go, well, we're not talking about pendulous vanes. Suddenly I get to be made to look stupid because I don't know what the subject's about. And I've never heard of it, and I've got to admit to that on the spot. They then pick up the reins and start waffling on about how it corrects to sphere. And what am I going to do? I've just admitted I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. How am I going to respond? That's your concern. And I agree. Perfectly legitimate concern. And that's only exaggerated when I'm saying I don't need to know this. I already know how it's measured, therefore I don't need to concern myself with their bullshit that they come back with. Yes, I do. Their bullshit will also prove a flat Earth. So it still works on the same vein of, you're going to find out how Earth's being measured flat at the end of this process, just like all the rest of them. But the second you drop the ball and stop being frosty, someone's going to take advantage of that. Right, Brian?
But yeah, see, what was going to happen is, based off of what, just 1 second, Eli, I'll be finished then. Based on what you were saying to me, you said you didn't want to know. What was going to happen is, in my mind, what was the potential for a situation where you present the pitch data to an ignorant audience. They come in with this nonsense and give the audience the impression that you don't understand the pitch data, when that's just in right. And because the audience don't know what they're talking about, if you can't then take apart what they're trying to come in as some kind of rebuttal to it, if you can't do that there and then, the audience then lose faith in you and in your understanding of the situation, and they just go, it's definitely a globe. Do you know what I mean? That's what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to get you on the detail, and a lot of time they're using the detail. They don't have the details right, or they're using the details incorrectly, and that's what I was saying for to defend against, which you wouldn't have been if you didn't care about learning about it.
No, I've got you. So I say Earth's measured flat. Here's the measurements of Earth flat. Next man comes along and goes, but what about this particular mechanically corrected gyroscope? And I go, what about it? Pendulous vanes don't prove anything, blah, blah, blah. I get told, no, we're not talking about pendulous vanes. The guy gets to the floor to talk about how ball-shaped it's being corrected to, and I don't know that the correction's to horizontal. Therefore, he gets the perceived win because I'm condemned as being ignorant in the subject matter. So the fact that I've presented flat Earth measurements, the be-all and end-all, becomes irrelevant in the mind's eye of the ignorant audience. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, he got around to it. That was basically my point. If you're talking to like just the person, then it matters. You don't have to give a crap. But if the audience is ignorant and you need to do better,
Then what?
All right, we got it. Save this for the back chats.
Say what? Am I missing something? Clearly not. Right, is there anything else anybody wants to add to this birthday special? We'll round out the live show if not.
Just happy birthday. And I hope
thank
it's
you.
a happy one. And it goes good for you. And it's going to be a good year for you. And I have to stop for a while, but I'll be back in a little bit later.
Perfect. Any more for any more? Nope.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Nathan.
Thank you. I will round out on that note, though. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed. Thank you very much again. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.